Welcome to So I Married a Film Critic, a discussion between a professional film critic and lecturer and me, his wife of 20 years who just likes to watch movies for fun. I'm your co-host, Julia.
Hey, and this is Barry. I'm the critic under the stairs. How y'all doing this evening?
Yeah, tonight we're going to watch we're not going to watch a scary movie. We're going to talk about a scary
we watched
movie.
It. We've been there. We've done it. Wes Craven's The People Under the Stairs.
In every neighborhood, there is one house that adults whisper about and children cross the street to avoid. Now, Wes Craven, creator of A Nightmare on Elm Street, takes you inside.
Something's in there.
We gotta get out of here, Leroy.
All sorts of rumors about what goes on in that house. The police never took it serious.
She's been feeding that thing between the walls again.
Very, very tense about this.
What goes on in this house is a sin. But what goes on under the stairs is a nightmare. Wes Craven's The People Under the Stairs.
I love this title because it's trying really hard to be scary. Because, like, what are the people under the stairs? It's like people down. It's like downstairs people. It's like the room above the hallway. You mean the attic? Okay. But no, it's Wes Craven's The People Under the Stairs.
So did you see this when it came out?
I did not. I was too afraid to see it.
Oh.
I was 14 years old. At this point, I mean, I was a fan of Craven, but this one looked really scary, so I didn't do it. There were a couple of his I didn't see in the theater. I'd seen Shocker in the theater. I didn't see Serpent in the Rainbow. I did see The New Nightmare, which is that's probably my favorite Wes Craven movie. But yeah, I caught up with this on video cassette, and I was pretty blown away by it.
Mm-hmm. I don't remember the first time I saw this, but
I showed it to you.
Oh, okay.
There's no way you saw it before me.
No, I know. I definitely did not see this when it came out. I was 11 and not watching scary
Cool as Ice came out this year. Maybe you saw
No.
Cool as Ice. You did not see The People Under the Stairs.
I didn't say that I did.
Let's see. What came in 91? You saw, let's see. Did you see Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves in the theater?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I was 11.
The Rocketeer?
Yes.
Okay. That came out the same year.
I saw The Rocketeer.
Okay. Hook? Did you see Hook in the
Yes.
theater? Okay. So that's what you were seeing instead of Wes Craven's The People Under the Stairs.
Yeah, there's no way my mom would have taken me to this because our movie opens with a tarot card reading. My mom would have been like, "We're leaving."
Now, she didn't pull you out of the theater while you're watching Titanic.
No, but she did throw a jacket over my brother's head when Jack started drawing Rose.
I love it.
In the nude. She just had this big old jacket, just throws it on him.
Not when people were drowning or when hundreds of people were losing their lives. No, when a nipple was on the screen.
Yes, no boobies. Well, what year was that?
It was 97.
Okay, so he was 10. So,
Yeah, it's okay if a little kid sees someone drown, but a naked breast, forget it, kid. Get a jacket over the face.
Well, so our movie starts with this tarot reading.
Not Titanic, but The People Under the Stairs.
How many times are you going to say it? Do you
I
want
love
to say
that
it one more
title.
time?
No, it's okay. I'll restrain myself.
So there's a boy named Fool.
Played by the wonderful Brandon Adams.
Who is named by his sister who is doing this tarot reading. And I'm like, that's rude. What? She calls him a fool because of a tarot card?
His name is Poindexter, but because she pulls the Fool card.
Yes. So we find out that Fool's mom is sick. With cancer. They're getting evicted. That they're the last family in this apartment complex. And the landlord wants to tear it down. So they are being kicked out. And this is kind of a big theme for this movie. It's not just about a horror film. I mean, as we will see, the themes are pretty wide.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is a socially relevant movie. I guess I should talk about this. I mean, this is 1991, so Spike Lee, his first film is She's Gotta Have It, comes out in 86, and it's a big deal because it's a movie about black people that's for a black audience. It's really not for white people. It's not like a Richard Pryor movie or an Eddie Murphy movie. Like, it was specifically for an African-American audience, and it was a big deal at the time because they just weren't making those anywhere. So, you know, and now, I mean, you know, between, you know, whatever, Tyler Perry, Jordan Peele, like, there are filmmakers. I mean, look, a good movie, people are going to go to it no matter what, right? It doesn't matter who the filmmaker is. But this is at a time where there weren't movies being made for an African-American audience at all. You know, it was like everything was very like whatever. It's an Eddie Murphy movie, but it's for general audiences or for everyone. So 1991 was the year where it's like, okay, Spike Lee, you know, he kind of burst through the gate and everybody followed. This was the year of John Singleton, Boys in the Hood, Matty Rich, Straight Outta Brooklyn. Jungle Fever came out this year. Death by Temptation. It was just a ton of films that kind of led this wonderful charge of young African-American filmmakers, really young, making movies that were personal, making movies about their experience, their neighborhoods, their, you know, everything, all the things they had struggled with. So here's Wes Craven, who, white guy, you know, famously, you know, like, I mean, he was famously a college professor before he was a filmmaker, and it kind of shows his movies are full of subtext and whatnot. And here he is making a movie about the African-American experience. And what I thought was very telling about this when it came out, nobody complained. Isn't that interesting? Today, people would complain and be like, no, you do not make movies. Don't, you know, stay in your lane. No, this was 1991. He made a movie where the three white characters, but the two main white characters are villains, and the majority of the cast is African-American, and it's about the African-American experience. And, you know, he's making a movie about the black inner city experience in particular. And these opening scenes, I think the first act of this movie is fantastic. Like, the scenes of Fool having to go to his apartments, they don't feel contrived. They definitely don't feel Hollywood. They feel really intense. I like the opening of this movie. For me, it really sells the story. It's because on the one hand, it's a treasure story, right? It's basically like the treasure Sierra Madre. It's like these characters who, like, we shouldn't be doing this, but we're going to go and find this treasure in this impossible place. And yeah, as you'll explain, the more we get into the specifics of the story, the more deranged it becomes.
Oh my gosh, so deranged, because we find out that these landlords, who are very creepy, they want to build condos with quote, clean people, unquote. It's boy. Ooh.
Yeah.
And they own, quote, half the ghetto. So it's pretty obvious that everybody hates the landlords, but nobody knows who they are.
Do they establish, because I mean, the movie was shot in California. Do they establish geography that it's Los Angeles?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, I can't remember if they did or not.
So Leroy finds out, and Leroy is
the wonderful Ving Rhames, a very early performance, and he's great in this.
So he has a plan to rob gold from the landlords, and he wants Fool to help him. So he's telling him, you know, we're going to get in this house. I know where they are. I know. He kind of like, he was like on a stakeout kind of a thing, and he figured out their identities. All right. So the landlord mother is played by
Wendy Roby. And the father is played by Everett McGill, both of Twin Peaks.
Yeah. And they are so terrifying.
Well, I mean, let's just say, like, when the film cuts to the house and it's always, you know, deep into the belly of this house and what's going on in the house, it feels like a completely different film.
Yeah.
Which is one of the things that really just stunned me, because, you know, the early scenes, it's these scenes of, they're serious, and there's all these scenes of despair. You know, because Fool realizes just like how hard up his family is, how, you know, this is something that has to be done, this robbery, even though he realizes it's a compromise and his sister's warning him against it. But then we see what he's up against. Like, it's not, you know, it's not like a conventional robbery. I mean, he's robbing people that are almost literally monsters.
No, they are literally monsters.
Not literally monsters.
Okay, well, we could talk about it as we get in there, but I think they are. So
I mean, they're not literally monsters the way like the monsters from Monsters Inc. are monsters.
Oh, okay.
I just mean they're like
okay, okay, you got me.
they have some redeeming values. They have a dog. They're not all bad.
They don't have any redeeming
No, you're right.
qualities.
None whatsoever. They're terrible. They're monsters. You're right.
Okay, so Alice is their daughter.
Played by A.J. Langer of My So-Called Life. And by the way, a couple years later, she'd be in John Carpenter's Escape from L.A. This actress was in a Wes Craven movie and a John Carpenter movie. That is awesome. Try topping that, Meryl Streep.
Oh my gosh. So our first scene with Alice is she's eating dinner alone in her room, and the mom comes in and she's checking, the plate. She's like, "Did you lick this plate?" And she's like, "No." And then it's like, "Well, where's your fork?" And the whole thing is so creepy. And then the mom is like, calls the dad, and they just call each other mommy and daddy. And she's like, "Daddy, she's been feeding that thing in the walls again."
That's a great line. Like, wait, there's something in the wall that she's been feeding?
Yeah, like what?
And the movie doesn't shy away from it. We see these terrifying hands, coming out of the wall. It's like, "Thank you for the plate," and grabbing the plate. Yeah, it feels like a dark fairy tale, but I mean, it does feel like a completely different film. The way the camera angles are, the lighting, it's so eerie.
Yeah. So the dad comes in, and all the mom says is, "Don't bruise her face." And
oh my god! Oh my gosh!
I mean, I know. So when
and amazingly, you kept watching.
I know. Well, the thing I remembered the most was the guy in the walls, which is
Sean Whalen.
Yeah,
the wonderful Sean Whalen, who became world famous because of a Michael Bay directed peanut butter commercial. Do you remember that?
No.
He's home alone. He lives in this museum-like house. He's home alone, and there's a radio asking a historical question. And the answer to the historical question was, I think, Raymond Burr or Aaron Burr. And he knew the answer. He's like, "Raymond Burr, Raymond Burr." But the thing, he's got peanut butter in his mouth. So he calls the radio and says, like, "Raymond Burr, Raymond Burr." And over the phone, he's like, "Sorry, that's not the right answer." So yeah, it was a milk. It was a Got Milk commercial. So need milk to wash down his peanut butter. Anyway, that's how I think most people first became aware of Sean Whalen. It's a Michael Bay directed commercial. It's great. Look it up on YouTube. It's good.
Okay, so he plays Roach. And the scariest part to me back then was that his tongue was cut out.
Yeah.
And they show it, special effects, right? And now, I mean, watching it again, I that's not the scariest part. Like, the scariest part are these parents and wondering, like, what is this dad doing to this girl?
It's a nice misdirect because initially it just seems like, okay, the parents are deranged, but there's something scary living inside the entrails of the house.
Right. So you're like, well, the parents are really creepy, but there's also a creepy hand coming out of the vent.
Yeah.
But anyways, he says to her, like, "Bad girls burn in hell." And they're always talking about everyone burning in hell.
There's a sign on the wall behind them that says "Children should be seen, not heard." It's a very clear indication of where this family unit stands in terms of their morals and how they're raising their kids.
Yeah, and then the see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil is a big thing for them too.
Yes. We'll get into the subtext to this. Yeah.
Okay, so we have Leroy and Fool and Spencer, and they're pretending they get this whole grift going, and so Fool pretends to be a Boy Scout to get into the house, and he's like looking around, and you can tell that, I mean, there's bars on all the windows, locks on the outside of windows. I mean, this thing is barricaded.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, like a prison.
It's a fortress, and I gotta say quickly, because I don't want to forget to mention this, Marty, my brother and the producer of the show. Hey, Marty. I always feel like I should say hi to him because I know he's listening to us. Hey, Marty. He took me to this house in Los Angeles a couple of years ago, and it just towers over you. It's no joke. I mean, this thing, it's extremely intimidating. They really didn't do much to dress it up for the movie at all. It's a
dark gray.
They found the perfect house for this movie. Yeah, it's a real house.
Yeah. So Anyways, he doesn't get into the house. The mother is like, no. She kind of sees through everything. Mm-hmm. And so then Spencer pretends that he's with the gas company and he gets into the house.
And an interesting touch, she notices he's got a skull ring.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's her kind of tip off like, oh, okay, this guy's not legit because he's wearing a skull ring.
Yeah.
You do get the sense like he's doomed the second he walks through the door.
Oh, and he basically is doomed.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if he lasted 5 minutes.
Yeah, no way.
So Leroy thinks Spencer is stealing the gold without him. So he and Fool try to get in. And I'm like, Leroy, what? In the middle of the day? He's just gonna... Because they're just supposed to be casing the place.
But in their defense, they don't know what they're up against. And this, on the surface, sounds like a conventional job. And Leroy has been through this many times.
That's true.
Although they keep forgetting to heed the warnings of the sister, who's like, I've heard some things about these people. And they're like, no, this is gold. Don't worry about that. We don't care about that.
Yeah. I do think... Did you think the house looks like the Psycho house a little bit?
Yes. Yeah, I think that's definitely intentional.
Yeah.
I mean, Psycho is about a broken family dynamic. So is this film. Yeah. And I know Wes Craven has seen Psycho. So...
Okay, so Fool and Leroy are in the house, and I mean, creepy details, like they go in the kitchen and there's just piles of dead flies.
Yeah.
And everything's dirty, and there's a crazy dog, a Rottweiler.
Oh,
I think.
That's one of the main characters in this movie.
Yeah. And so they lock themselves in the kitchen because this dog is going to eat them. And
yeah.
Okay, so Fool's walking around the house and he goes to the basement. And one of the weird things about this house is all the doors have like these little peep windows that you can like open and look through.
And once you're in the house, it's very hard to get out.
Yes.
It's extremely hard. Everything is jerry-rigged where the deeper you go into the house, every room, every window, every door has some lock that you just can't penetrate. Everything about this house is very... It's extremely nightmarish and claustrophobic despite its size.
So Fool goes down to the basement and he hears voices. And then he ends up getting locked in because the door just shuts behind him.
Right.
And everything like locks automatically.
Yes.
And you see a TV like facing the bars. And it's like, oh my gosh. Oh, what is in there? And well, now he finds Spencer dead in the basement. So,
do you remember what's on the TV?
No.
It's imagery of Operation Desert Storm.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
So they're watching war footage?
Mm-hmm. But we'll get to that because that also gets to our subtext as to what might have been going on with Craven's... I mean, I guess we could just talk about it. Many have noted that mother and father bear a kind of a resemblance to Ronald and Nancy Reagan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, many of it's, and that was one of the first times I ever heard that interpretation of this movie. And it's a very popular interpretation. I don't think Craven was going that literal, but I mean, it is about an uncaring, wealthy white couple who keep the undesirables of society. They, by the way, this is not me editorializing, who they deem undesirable in society, literally beneath them at their feet. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, is it, are we talking about gentrification? Are we talking about film about systemic racism? All of those things. I don't know that, I mean, it's a little heavy-handed at times, but at the same time, I mean, he clearly cares about the black community. And that was just, you just didn't see that in a lot of movies, let alone a film made by a very popular white horror filmmaker in the 90s. So there is something very special about this film in terms of it being like a political commentary. Absolutely. It's all over this movie. I think as much as John Carpenter's They Live is a political commentary, except I think this time it's even more defined because for one thing, it's not a cartoon. I mean, you really, Brandon Adams' performance, it's a little green, but he's charming in the film and he carries the movie. Fool is the main character of this film. I mean, what a rare thing this very young African American boy carrying this whole film, and I think he does a fine job.
Yeah.
And we care about this kid. And yeah, the two main characters, it's not just that they're white. They represent everything that is wrong. Like, they are indifferent, they are cruel, and then, by the way, they're psychopaths.
Yeah, they're totally psycho. Well, what the thing I like about Fool, his character, is he seems to be fearless. I don't know that he really understands how much danger he's in.
At first, I mean, how could you? This is crazy.
Yeah.
There are allusions to Alice in Wonderland. There's also, this is also The Wizard of Oz. I mean, this is a whole other world that they've become immersed in.
And the thing about the house is, because of all the booby traps, I mean, there were parts of it I was like, this is like a psycho Home Alone.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll get more into that.
A violent hard R-rated Home Alone, yeah. Yeah.
All right, well, Alice lets Fool out of the basement, and Roach tries to drag him back down, and so he gets out, and this is when Mother and Father return home and see the van in their driveway, so they're like, oh man, we gotta deal with some nonsense now.
I love it because they pull up, and they're always dressed completely inappropriate. Like, they dress the way crazy people think normal people dress. Yeah. They're always wearing clothing it's either too old folksy or it's a little too big. Like, their clothing choices are always wrong in some fundamental way.
Yeah. And her hair, she's very 50s style.
Extremely.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a couple times where he's using a pipe as a prop, and he clearly has never smoked in his life. Yeah, it's a great touch.
Well, this is where we see that the house is really booby-trapped because the front door is electrified.
Yeah.
Now, was this before or after Home Alone?
This is the year after Home Alone.
Exactly. An electrified door?
You think Wes Craven saw this as like, a little gore? This John Hughes movie could really do something.
I mean, you guys give up? Are you thirsty for more? He's like, but...
Instead of the wet bandits, how about we make them a cannibalistic couple? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going to write this down.
Yeah.
It's something really scary. The people under the stairs.
The dad can run around in S&M gear and just start shooting in the walls. It'll be great.
And they're going to have a cute little dog that eats people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so they try to, Leroy and Fool try to leave the front door but get electrocuted.
Well, that's also the method for getting rid of the dog.
Well, yeah. But they don't kill the dog at this point.
Yeah,
but
just give him some juice.
They electrocute themselves and the dog. Mm-hmm. And see, some of it is a little slapsticky.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like the slapstick. I mean, I found myself laughing.
Which helps because this is a deranged story. Yeah. I mean, Craven's first two movies were Last House on the Left and The Hills Have Eyes. At times, this movie is that raw. There are moments, I don't know about whole scenes because you're right, there's a lot of dark humor, but there are times in this movie where it gets really, really ugly. It stops short of rape, but just stop short of it,
right.
The implications here are not only of abuse but incest, not to mention what we learn about Mother and Father. Like, this is one of Craven's darkest movies, which is saying a lot.
Yeah, we learn a lot. Thankfully, we aren't shown the worst of the worst, but we see enough to know.
Yeah. No, I mean, there is a scene, a graphic and such a disturbing scene involving cannibalism. And thankfully, it's not like a set piece. It's just this quick scene to make a point. And it talks about how Mother and Father basically have a relationship with the people under the stairs. Ugh. It's like, it's feeding time. Ugh. And there's also, I think the moment that bothers me even more is in the first scene where the father is hungrily, slicing into his steak. And we see that next to his plate, he's got this little bowl and he spits out a little black ball into the bowl. He's like, buckshot.
Yeah, like he had shot this person and now he's eating the meat.
Yeah, and the first time I saw the movie, I'm like, I don't know what that's about. Now I see the film like, oh boy. Yeah, that's some really gross foreshadowing. Okay,
so now Leroy and Fool are like just basically on their own in the house trying to get away from Daddy because he is now. And this is where we also see that they have like a control panel for the entire house. And they can turn like locks off and on with like different switches. And I think it controls the electricity, like everything.
It's pretty wild. And, and it makes me ask the obvious question. Did they buy the house and add all this stuff?
Oh, well,
or did
obviously.
or was it like, like a really deranged real estate agent?
She's like, I want to show you this lovely house here. Okay, when you open up this control panel, you can turn on the electrified doorknob. It's such a great feature.
Are you guys into like weird stuff? Because I got a house I could show you. I mean, look, okay, if you guys ever worn like full body leather, you have? Okay, well, I got this house, man. You're gonna love this.
And look at the panels in the walls. You can take them out and hide all of your guns and ammo.
Do you ever have any guests over and you're like, I don't really want them to leave, so you just want them to like keep them there? Well, I got this place, man. You're gonna love this house.
When you flip this switch, the stairs turn into a slide. No, of course they rigged this house.
Well, it's like I saw the movie Sliver with it came out 2 years later where William Baldwin, spoiler, he's he's basically the owner of this building where every room is rigged with a camera, every room. So he's like spends all his days watching every single room.
Like a creeper.
Yeah, creeper. But again, it's like, did William Baldwin really rig this entire, like it's like 36 rooms and 14 stories. It's like, did he really do all that? I can't see it. He's like, in the second room, he's like, oh boy, only 28 more of these to go.
You know what?
Can install all these little cameras.
I bet the daddy went to the public library and just got all those, electrician for dummies type of books. Because there's no internet back then. But they seem like they're really industrious.
But let me ask you this. Can you imagine that character going to the library?
Yeah, in his pants that are too long and his oversized shirts. Yes, I can.
I'm here to fill out a library card.
They're like, what are you looking for? Do you have anything about prisons? Electricity.
Do you have any books about how to make leather clothing?
Yeah, where do you think he got his S&M outfit?
Yeah, that's a good question because
there's I'm sure there's kink shops around the corner from them.
That's true in that neighborhood. Maybe. That's an interesting thing to consider in terms of character. Is the whole idea that they have this facade of normality and behind doors they're just in every way they're
Unhinged.
just waving their freak flag.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We got the leather, we got the cannibalism, we're watching Operation Desert Storm. We're just some freaky deakies over here.
All right, well, Leroy gets shot in this first round of Daddy Going Wild.
Yeah.
So, and the reason I'm calling them Mom and Dad is because
that's the name of the characters.
Well, it's man and woman.
Yeah, man and woman. Yeah, but really, they don't have names. And,
yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah. So then this is where we see that there's a doll that Alice is pulling through the vents to lead Fool to safety. And this is where Fool and Alice meet. And he's in her room, I guess. Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, how do I get out of here? She's like, no one gets out.
My name's Fool. What's yours?
Alice.
Don't be scared. You never seen a brother before?
Never had a brother.
No, I mean a black dude. There's black folks in this neighborhood.
Neighborhood?
Our neighborhood. You know, outside.
Well, that's outside, not in here.
So you get outside, don't you? You saying never?
Can't get out. No one ever has.
Well, I'm gonna get out. I'm a whole other thing.
People have tried.
You mean the people in the cellar? Who are they?
Mommy and Daddy looked a long time to find the perfect boy child. But each one they found turned out bad. Some saw things they weren't supposed to. Others heard too much, others talked back. Daddy cut out the bad parts and put the boys in the cellar, one by one. When they get flashlights and food of some kind, I suppose they're happy in their own way.
Yeah, right. What about you? How come they haven't put you in the cellar?
I do not see or hear or speak evil. It's the only way.
So it's like, I don't know. We find out that they've stolen these kids, but we don't really know like how old they were when they were stolen or really where they came from.
You know what? Less is more.
Yeah.
Because Craven did a movie in 1984 called A Nightmare on Elm Street. And in that film, we know that Freddy, who was a janitor in a high school, he would lure kids down into his little basement office room and he would kill them. It was suggested, never stated, never said, it was suggested that he might have molested them. But we know that he was a child killer. As they did a remake in the movie in 2010 where they were specific about all the details, that Freddy had pictures. I mean, it was like, there's so many things wrong about the remake, which Craven had nothing to do with. And it's a bad film. It really is. But one of the things that's so bad about it is like, it wanted to be really literal about this stuff. It's like, no. Suggested. Don't, you know.
We don't need to know all
the
details.
Yeah, I mean, like, and certainly in the case of this movie, especially, like, there's enough in the dialogue and there's enough in the way that Everett McGill is playing it. It's like, yeah, clearly, you know, there's no restraint in this relationship. Clearly, I mean, everything that's monstrous about him is on display for this poor kid.
Yeah. And so Fool was like, well, how have you managed to basically not be down there? And she's like, I see no evil. I don't speak any evil. And she's just become like a shell of a person.
Yeah.
So this is where now Daddy's hunting Roach in his BDSM gear. It's the first time we see.
Those are some tight leather pants. I admire how quickly he can get out of those.
I mean, I don't.
Are they underneath his regular clothes, maybe?
The thing is, we never see him like actually trying to like squeeze into this outfit.
No, it's definitely a jolt when he comes down the hallway and suddenly he's dressed in that, because it's a full headgear too.
Yeah, and I'm like, you're right. It would take probably a long time to get that in. I mean, if you ever saw that episode of Friends with Ross and his leather pants, you know that this is a very difficult endeavor. Yeah.
You guys, there's an episode of Friends. I love that that's where you went.
Well, his pants get too tight and he goes to the bathroom and then he can't pull them up. And so he puts like lotion on and then powder on. And then it ends up being a big mess.
I mean, I would have said like, you know, that Madonna video or remember that Elvis prison movie? No, I love it. You're like, you remember that episode of Friends, season 2, episode 14, guys, with Joey Tribbiani?
Okay, but yeah, like even the mom at one point, she's like, Daddy, come put on your leather. It's like, is she helping him? I mean, these are things that we definitely don't want to see.
Yeah, again, like I don't want to watch him getting oiled up to get the.
Okay, the thing. So Roach has escaped the prison in the basement.
Yes,
and now he travels around in the walls of the house, and he has this maniacal laugh, and it drives Daddy crazy.
Yeah,
and he sometimes sends the dog to hunt him.
Yes,
but Roach is fast. Roach is ingenious.
He's kind of a lost boy in a sense.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I guess it is a little Peter Pan too, huh?
It's a little, well, yeah. Any kind of, I mean, you know, it's a fairy tale, but like Grimm Brothers fairy tale. No, I mean, this is like what it was like to probably like read the original, you know, Alice in Wonderland. You know, to read the Lewis Carroll characters that are so terrifying.
So now we have the police that show up, and they said that the van was used in a liquor store robbery, and so that's how these characters, the mom and the dad, own this liquor store, and that's how Leroy found out about them. And so then the mom goes and looks in the back of the van and she sees the Boy Scout uniform. And so now they're like, oh my gosh, this kid is in our house. Because before they thought it was just the two adults. They didn't know that Fool was in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the way they're ruining this neighborhood. So they have this house of horrors.
Yes.
They own a liquor store, which is obviously not blessing the community. Do you think they own like an S&M shop?
No, they own, like, they said that they
own some buildings.
Own half the ghetto. So they own multiple apartment buildings that they're trying to turn into these upscale condos by evicting people by raising the rent so high that they can't pay.
Who the heck would they have? I mean, once they get these upscale condos, I mean, what are we talking about? What's the, how do you vet who gets in there?
Well, I think it's like, do
you think he goes onto like the dark web? Like, are you into leather and munching on undesirables?
No, I think they're trying to gentrify the neighborhood. And so they'll probably charge crazy amounts, like double or triple what the other apartments were worth. And so only people with a lot of money are going to apply.
It's like, mother, once we get these houses going, I swear we can get the Kardashians up in here. It's going to be a good place for clean people.
Clean, yeah. Yeah, clean people. Like, oh my gosh, how disgusting are they?
The Kardashians?
Well, yeah, them.
Mother and father.
And mother and father. So, I mean, you can use it for both, whatever you want.
Sorry, listeners, we're not fans.
Well, all right. So, because when Leroy was shot, he was like, run, fool. And Daddy thought he was talking about himself and didn't know because fool is obviously not even a real name. So,
yeah, right.
So they know, though, that fool is in there. And the mom is like, my baby, he's probably violating her right now. They just think that, like, she's just having sex with random kids.
Yep.
Like, they're so weird.
Mm-hmm.
They're so weird.
For starters, yeah.
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 That's one of the more mild weird things about them. Okay. So the dog is named Prince. So they send Prince to hunt Fool in the house through the walls. And Roach pulls Fool into a different part of the walls. And they booby trap. This is where they booby trap it, and they send Prince down like a series of slides.
Yeah.
And he ends up just like sliding into the kitchen. And I have to tell you, that was probably the hardest I laughed in this whole movie.
It's a great bit.
Yeah. Just watching this dog just like slide down.
Craven he famously always wanted to do comedy. The quick story I'll throw about that. A couple movies later, he ends up doing Vampire in Brooklyn with Eddie Murphy. Mm-hmm. It's an interesting failure. I like the movie, but it doesn't quite work. Craven had always wanted to do a comedy. Eddie Murphy had always wanted to do a Wes Craven horror movie. So they're button heads, the movie, because Murphy is not messing around. Like, he's giving a full-on horror movie performance in that movie, but Craven wants to make it a comedy. So, like, you got two people collaborating who are, really wonderful and talented, but, like, the film really toggles back and forth tonally. And I feel like in this movie, it works because it's like, this is ugly material. Well,
and what we're watching is so absurd.
Yeah.
That it feels like this can't be real. But
that's also a really great thing because it's so removed from the laws of reality that we understand the danger completely because there's no rationalizing with these people.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, and even though Fool should not be in this house, even though he's on this, this mission that was so doomed from the start, we're absolutely in this kid's corner because the danger that he's in, he just keeps learning that it's so layered.
Mm-hmm. So he's in Alice's room, and the mom and the dad catch him. So now they're taking Fool down to the basement, and this is where the dad cuts up Leroy and feeds him to the basement boys.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And this just... Because you know that there's people down there in the basement, but we haven't really seen them yet. Yeah, well,
there's that line earlier where A.J. Langer says that Daddy cut out the bad parts and put the boys in the cellar. And that was like the bad parts. Did he also castrate them? I mean, we're talking about...
Yeah, well, you said that.
Maybe they're eunuchs,
Yeah, and I said, I think mostly their tongues, because that's what they did to Roach.
Yeah.
Because they were talking back and like...
But I'm sure mother and father would not allow any hanky-panky under the stairs, so...
Well, yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me. Yeah,
Who knows what he did to them, but they look like they're now... I don't know, late teens, early 20s. Mm-hmm. So they've been down there.
For a long time.
They could have been down there for a decade.
Yeah. It's heartbreaking to think about.
Yeah.
By the way, unfortunately, this is the part of the film that is pulled from real life. Craven famously, I think he said it was the 70s. He remembered this article in the paper about these two boys who broke into this house, and in doing so, they discovered, for this very same reason as the movie, like apparently they were robbing their landlords, and they learned that the couple had this kid in the basement who had not experienced human touch. Not the basement, in the attic, that had not experienced human touch. And when they found the kid, he was feral, long fingernails, long white hair, and didn't speak. And apparently, like, over time, Child Protective Services and whatnot, they intervened, and things are different now. But the story of, how this kid was found, and how these people were just, like, allowing this to happen, and haunted Craven. And this was his way of, dealing with it as a creative.
Yeah, he's like, how can I talk about this and social issues at the same time?
And terrify audiences at the same time, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, okay, so now we've seen, this was the dad cutting up Leroy, the cannibalism.
Yeah, and so for people who are listening to this podcast and like, I don't know if I want to see this movie, the scene we're describing right now, it's the hardest. The two hardest scenes are right here, because you have the bit of graphic cannibalism. And Edward McGill is munching on it as he's cutting it up, and he's got blood dripping out of his mouth. It's the stuff of nightmares. And just when you thought the movie couldn't get any worse, there's the bathtub scene, which is right after.
Before that, the mom tells Alice, like, she basically wants her to clean up the blood of Leroy.
Yeah, because it's a huge puddle he left on the floor. Yeah,
huge mess.
And of course, she trips on it and falls into it. Yeah,
her white dress gets ruined.
Craven is not fooling around. I mean, when he it's not so much the visceral horror, it's the emotion of it, it's the intensity of it. I mean, his most disturbing movies, Deadly Friend is not one of them. His most disturbing movies.
One of our episodes, by the way.
I love that movie. His most disturbing films, like it's the emotional pitch of it that makes it really hard to watch.
Yeah, because the mom is like, you got your dress dirty. Now you're going to take a bath. And it's like boiling hot water.
Scalding hot, yeah. And she just thrusts AJ Langer into the bath. And, oh, man, that scene is so hard to watch. I find it even worse than the cannibalism stuff.
It really is.
Yeah,
it really is.
Oh, my gosh.
I watched the extra of that actress talking about
Wendy Roby talking about doing the scene with Langer, yeah. And
it actually made me feel like, hearing her talk about the scene and how much fun they had. We had so much fun filming this. I was like, okay, it wasn't real. But I mean, yeah, it makes you just
these actors
terrified.
Are wonderful in this. I mean, Craven has made some movies where the performances are uneven. There's a few of those, but like this, everybody in this movie is great. Like, again, Adams, little kid, he's carrying this whole movie on his shoulders, does a wonderful job. AJ Langer is heartbreaking, and Sean Whalen is Roach. I mean, he is remarkable. He's got no dialogue, but he plays this character who is initially so upsetting, but you love this guy. And when his character exits the film, it's really I've always very moved by that.
Well, because the dad throws Fool in with the boys, because he's basically like, oh, I keep them starving, so they're going to eat Fool. Yeah. They'll kill him. Mm-hmm. But Roach saves Fool again, and Roach gives Fool the coin collection and like basically shows him where all of the treasure is. Yeah. Which is like, oh man, there really is a treasure.
Yeah, it's a Fort Knox. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, unfortunately, Roach dies of a gunshot wound, and it's
a touching scene. Now, that's the thing. Like, if I didn't care about it, the problem with most horror movies, if I didn't care about any of these characters, it was all about the monster. This movie, we wouldn't be talking about it. It would be a nothing film. But I think one of the reasons this movie resonates, not only because it has something on its mind, and because Craven made this movie as like a Valentine to the black community and all the things that he saw that was going on in the ghetto, certainly in the 90s and now, by the way. But like, we love these characters. We worry about them. This is a child who is suddenly in this adult world, and the fact that he wants to live, the fact that he's there on a mission because he cares about the people that he sees around him being, abused, exploited, by this horrible couple. The stakes are really high for this movie, and I think it's because we like these characters. And by the way, mother and father are great villains. They're great. I mean, like, again, like if they were just cartoon characters, if they were just funny, the way Freddy Krueger became kind of a clown prince as those movies progressed, it wouldn't really matter. But because, again, the humor is helping because this movie is really terrifying at times.
Yeah, really dark.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, originally Fool was just trying to help his family and his community, but now he's like, I gotta save this girl.
Yeah, he's got a very specific mission, which is, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
All right, so Fool and Alice are now trying to escape, and the dad, he can hear them in the walls, and Roach is in the incinerator, which I think this house, didn't we say?
Funeral home.
Yes.
Yeah. It used to be a funeral home.
Yeah, so the dad just incinerates Roach's body, and all of the smoke just starts getting into the walls somehow, and so he's trying to smoke them out, and then he sends the dog in after them. And then in a great turn of events, the dad stabs into the wall and ends up killing his own dog.
It's a weird thing to say, listeners, because normally we wouldn't be rooting for someone to murder a dog in a movie, but this is that rare occasion.
This dog is, first of all, a killer.
Now, by the way, listeners, we are dog owners. I love Lassie. Benji the Hunted is one of my favorite movies, okay? So, we're not saying this casually, but yeah, this is a movie where a dog is violently murdered, and it's deeply satisfying.
Yeah. I
mean, it is just a movie, by the way.
Because we did watch the dog eat a hand early on.
Well, this dog is the canine extension of mother and father.
Yeah.
He's
eating the people.
He's evil.
Yeah.
He's a bad doggy.
He really is.
Yeah,
he's not a good boy.
Not a good boy. Yeah.
So, but the dad thinks, he's like, I got him. He thinks he's killed Fool. And the mother's like, how do you know? And he's like, oh, all right. So he's gonna he's tearing apart his own house. I mean,
pulls back the wall panel, and the doggy corpse just lands in his lap.
Yeah. And then they are just, it's the only time you see them devastated.
And again, deeply satisfying.
Yes. You're like, yes, you hurt them. This is awesome. All right. So the kids make it up to the attic, and Fool does make it out by kind of going down on the roof and falling.
He jumps off the roof. Yeah. He slides, jumps off the roof, lands in the pond, and then makes a run for it.
Yeah. And she's too scared to follow him, which, she's traumatized.
Of course.
She's like, no, nobody makes it out. So
there's a bit of Stockholm there too. It's not that she wants to stay with mother and father, but it's what is out there for me?
Yeah. She has no idea. She's never been outside. Yeah. Or if she had been outside as a
maybe
young
on the
child,
roof.
She doesn't remember it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, well, Fool gets the coins to his mom and his grandpa.
Grandfather's Bill Cobbs, this actor, man. I don't care how big, how small the role is. He's just one of the best. I love this actor, and he's got a great monologue talking about the sickness of mother and father. I swear, the third act of this movie, it just takes off running, and it helps that he's, bridging these two sequences.
Yeah, but he also says, this is enough money to get your mom medical help and pay your rent. I'm going to take this to the coin dealer. This is great, And then Fool is like, I got to go back in there. And you're like, what? Yeah, it's pretty insane.
I think it's wonderful. I love the kids' bravery. I think it's exciting. This whole third act is so exciting because, the stakes are even higher because, of course, mother and father are looking. They're waiting for this kid. They suspect he's going to come back, and we see the degree that they've been waiting for him.
Well, we find out that the mom and dad are actually brother and sister.
Father's name is Eldon. It slips out at one point. I'm like, oh, man, Eldon. No wonder he's a monster. He probably got such crap for that as a kid.
Well, the family started off as funeral home directors, then got into real estate, got greedy and crazy, is what they say. So Fool calls the police, and the police actually go to the house, and this is where they charm them with cookies and tea and just...
But the great dark humor of this whole scene is that the father has this ridiculous ball cap on. It's to hide this massive hen wound bandage that he has on. And yeah, again, they're acting weird, they're dressing weird, they're basically acting like, the models of domesticity. But really, they're psychopaths. Yeah, I don't know. I think there's something kind of charming about watching psychopaths try to entertain cops.
Mm-hmm. So then Fool sneaks back in, and now we have Horror Home Alone because it's just a series of a lot of pranks and
Well, there's a great reveal, where he goes upstairs and he thinks he's listening to mother and father and he's going to sneak up on them. Turns out they left this tape recording for the kid to
think.
Yeah, to go towards, and they try to get him.
Yeah. Well, it is creepy because they're like, "Come on, Daddy, let's go to bed. Let's say our prayers." and then it's like them praying, and then it's a tape recorder.
Do you think that this is something they created just for Fool, or there's like, let's put on the tape recorder and let's do the prayers? Maybe this is something they just do.
I don't know
for their victims.
But I think over the years they've come up with like every possible like bait and switch that they could think of to like misdirect people. Mm-hmm. And so, I don't know, I think they just have all this stuff.
That's one of the interesting things about the performances, because Wendy Robbie and Everett McGill are wonderful in this. I'm always looking for those moments where we're really seeing them at their most unguarded and real. Because so much of the film, it's about them passing off as real people, whoever it is. So, like, those moments when they're alone are interesting because it's like, is it a brother-sister dynamic? Are they doing husband and wife? And are they doing it with any conviction? Do they even understand what that relationship looks like? Are they so scarred from their childhood that they have any sense of what end is up at this point?
I don't know. I mean, do you think they're living as husband and wife?
Yeah.
In, like, weird ways?
Yeah.
Ugh.
I mean, let me just say this. Don't you think there's a his and her leather outfit in the closet?
I don't know, because we never see her in that.
Maybe Wes Craven's like, it's a little too far. We don't want an NC-17 rating. We can't have two people in S&M outfits running around that hallway. We are going to release this, in theaters.
Yeah, exactly.
We need an R rating, so we can't do that.
There is like a scene where Fool climbs up the inside of a chimney to rescue Alice. She's been like tied up in the basement, in the attic.
Yeah.
She's been tied up in the attic, like, I mean, in a really horrible way with like her arms over her head, and this is the part where the dad, he's like on his way to like go see her, and the mom is like, get down here, like leave her alone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, again, it's good. Just suggest the horror.
Yeah.
And the way it's played like something was about to happen that was really bad. It's like, again, like it's so dread-inducing, but again, it's like, thank you, Wes Craven, for going like, okay, that's good. We got it.
It's like
they got it.
He like got to the line and then he like stepped back. With some of the stuff.
Craven has done with rape. He's portrayed movies about rape before, and thankfully he's not doing that at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's so she gets freed, and eventually they free the boys in the basement.
Boy, do they ever! Yeah, those kids at one point they actually bust out of the staircase.
Yeah, literally.
It's pretty amazing.
The staircase.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think the best part though is when all the boys just descend on the mother, and she is just.
And is that before or after when she goes after AJ Langer with the butcher knife? That amazing scene where she slowly turns around and just goes full tilt Norma Bates on.
Yeah, I think that happens first.
That's a great scene. Yeah, it's so scary. Yeah.
Yeah, because Alice is trying. She's hiding and trying to get away from everybody, but I don't remember all the details exactly, but it is crazy when the mom goes after her with the knife.
Yeah. This part of the movie is so exciting because it's a series of it's like a bunch of one-upmanship because Fool finds the gold, and Alice in a sense is facing
the gold and like bags of money.
Yeah, bags and bags of money. Yeah, I mean there's a lot of reversals of fortune. Because mother and father are finally outmatched. The neighborhood from outside is ascending into the house. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, they're coming to the door. They're knocking on the door. Fool finds like dynamite down in the basement too. Yeah. So he rigs up some dynamite, and at the very end,
again, just like Kelvin McAllister would.
Exactly. Well, before anything else you want to say before we get to the final climax.
Gosh, I just the third act of this movie is so thrilling. There's a lot of stuff, but no, I mean, I guess just jump to it.
Action.
Yeah. I mean, the mother eventually, I guess, she becomes dinner for the people under the stairs, which is a good touch. And father falls into his feeding pit, which is so gross and also very fitting for him. Apparently, there was a last-minute jump scare where I guess he jumps out. You think he's dead, and I guess he makes a leap for Fool. And Craven apparently, I remember doing an interview with him about the movie, and he said, like, yeah, we cut that because it's too horror movie. I thought, that's awesome that he recognized that.
Yeah.
Because he's like, yeah, like, you know, we don't need to go to formula. Like, nothing about this movie is really, it's an unusual movie. He even recognized it at the time. He's like, why am I doing what everybody else is doing? Might as well let's cut that. And it's more satisfying that he just eats it.
Yeah. Oh, and it's very satisfying.
Extremely. Yeah, because we hate these characters. The villains are so loathsome.
So there's a big explosion and money
money is literally pouring down on the neighborhood. Yeah,
it's like raining dollar bills.
Yeah, and the people under the stairs just walking away like, oh, okay, go home now.
I mean, well, these guys they look like zombies. I don't know where they're going to go. They can't talk.
I think they would have done just fine getting jobs at Blockbuster Video after this.
I mean,
you put on the little blue shirts and you got to restock the shelves. They'll be fine.
At one point, Fool is like, do you want to be free? You know, there's like girls out there. And I'm like, okay, that is not happening.
It's like, dude, we lost our bad parts, remember?
Oh, no. Like, they have like, their skin is all messed up from never having seen the sun. Their eyes are black. I mean, I don't know if these guys are going to be like entering, you know, relationships with women.
Maybe they could be lifeguards at a local YMCA. You know, you put in a lot of sunblock. You got sunglasses on. They just sit there and they blow a whistle if a kid gets out of line. I see opportunities.
You do.
Yeah.
You've come up with two.
I would have been a good caseworker for the people under the stairs. Like, I know you guys had a rough rap. I know most of you don't have tongues and you're missing some other appendages. But look, we're going to find you guys some jobs, okay? It's going to be all right. It's going to be okay, man.
Wow.
How many of you like kiddie pools? Pools? Okay, cool.
Like, they've never even been in a pool.
Okay, you guys like movies? Suncoast Video? You good?
They've never even taken a shower. Oh.
You never taken a shower? I think you're right about that, yeah. Okay, you guys like basements? Plumbing? Plumber's Apprentice?
Plumber's Apprentice.
Oh, you want? Yeah, sorry, bad idea. They're like, sorry, bad idea. You want to stay out of basements? I get it. Sorry, my mistake.
PTSD.
That was insensitive, guys. I'm sorry. We'll find you something.
Electrician? No. Like construction. We can help you.
They're really good. Those guys. They don't say much, and. I don't want to know what's in that lunchbox of theirs, but they're good. They're good.
All right, so everybody is happy. The bad guys are dead.
It's a mega happy ending. It really is. Yeah, like I don't know.
It's like a block party all of a sudden.
It's pretty insane that Wes Craven would have one of his darkest movies end with like maybe the happiest ending. I cannot think of another movie if it's not. The Scream movies aren't this happy.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, this movie ends, it's like, and they all lived happily ever, like, wow, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good triumphs over evil.
Except for the landlords, and they're gone.
They're gone, and the people under the stairs are just kind of walking around. Yeah, it's a wild ending.
Well,
I don't know, maybe we need a little more. What do you think? Because it fades to black at the end credits. I don't think it's a bad ending. I find the ending so satisfying, but maybe an epilogue? Do we need a little more?
I don't know. I feel like the people under the stairs need like some kind of social worker to just like give them some guidance because they're just now free out there. I mean, what are they going to do? Are they going to become like vampires and keep eating people? Maybe they start an underground vampire cult.
Do you think maybe they all kind of get together and they like live together like in the sewers?
Yeah, exactly. Now they're the sewer people. Because I mean, really. Where are they
going? People under the sidewalk.
Oh my gosh.
Just keep it going.
Just keep it going. Yeah, I'm not really sure. But I feel I'm happy for Fool and his family and his neighborhood. I mean, those people I'm happy for. It's great.
How about the people under the Victoria's Secret?
What?
I'm trying to think of like potential franchise spin-offs. The people under the McDonald's?
No. Oh, if they're in the sewers, maybe they join the It cult.
The It cult?
Yeah, they join It, the clown.
I thought you were going to say the Ninja Turtles.
Oh,
And that would be cool.
Oh, that might be better. They learn the skill.
You make a valid point. I mean, it's a very inconclusive and not even a possibly upbeat ending for the people under the stairs. That's a good point. I mean, because they're just roaming the streets. It's like they can't speak. They can't advocate for themselves. They may not be able to write, let alone even communicate.
Well, okay, but what are we talking? Like, are the cops going to come back and be like, with their megaphone, like, all right, people under the stairs, everyone meet over here? It's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no
idea. Yeah,
idea.
because it's not like Fool is, I mean, at this point, it's all about him and Alice.
Yeah. Like, so. Alice, she probably is gonna like stay with Fool, and then of course some like CPS agent's gonna get involved, and maybe she'll either stay with his family or get placed with another family. I don't know. Because
Roach apparently was the most recent one. So does she even have a relationship with the other people under the stairs?
No, I don't think so. I don't think she does.
It's a bummer of an ending now that you put it that way.
It started off as a block party, and then I made it.
No, it's actually
worse.
Tragic. It's Wes Craven's darkest ending.
Well, this was actually a listener request by my friend Melanie.
Melanie, what a weird movie to request, but thank you for listening, Melanie, if you've gotten this far.
Yes. So, I don't know. Do you have any other thoughts about this film?
I think it's amazing that she wanted us to watch this movie together. It's so cool. What a cool pick. I love this movie. I've always loved it. It's just it's startling. It's nutty. It's disturbing, and it's riveting. It's one of Craven's best movies because it takes so many chances. It shouldn't work. The tone should clash. The performances shouldn't work. But I think this movie is pretty terrific. For me, it's a 3.5-star film. I think it's one of his absolute top 5 best movies. It was a film that inspired a lot of filmmakers. I know, like everybody from Jordan Peele. Who else? There's a couple horror luminaries who like People Under Stairs was a very big deal. Candyman came out the following year, by the way, and also deals with gentrification. So, yeah, Craven, if people want to look at it like, okay, it's about the oppressed going up against Ronald and Nancy Reagan, fine. If you want to look at it in a very on the nose way, but I think the movie's a little better than that. I think it's about the birth of compassion in this environment, about how Fool's mission is to save somebody who's in a worse place than he is. Mm-hmm. And that's what makes him a man. He starts as a boy and it ends as a man. It's not being with Ving Rhames that makes him a man. It's the fact that he, puts someone else before himself. Mm. So, yeah, no, I dig this movie so much. How about you?
Yeah. It's one of those movies that would come on TV. What was it, like the USA channel?
Yeah, TNT.
Yeah, something like that.
Horrorvision.
And I was
Monster
always
Vision. Intrigued
by it, but I didn't really put all the pieces together, I think, until this time. Like, oh man, the subtext, all the horror about the mother and the father, everything. So, I mean, yeah, I liked it. I love it, actually. But it is... thankfully, I found it funny this time because when you kind of notice how horrific it is, you do need those moments to laugh and be like, okay.
Without the humor, it would be almost unwatchable.
Oh, yeah.
Without the humor, it would be really, really difficult to get through.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the hardest stuff to watch is really hard.
Because there's a version of this movie that is unwatchable if you just showed everything and
And if you didn't care about these characters, the film would not work. But the jarring tonal shifts, all the stuff that Craven's doing here, this is really wild. And by the way, this is a film. This was that period where Shep Gordon, the wonderful producer, Of course, famously, Alice Cooper's manager, Shep Gordon, was giving $3 to $5 million budgets to these filmmakers, John Carpenter and Wes Craven, saying, hey, you know, you stick to the budget, you stick to this low budget, you do whatever the heck you want. All I ask is that it's a genre film. All I ask is that your name is above the title, and otherwise you get final cut. And Carpenter and Craven were like, you got it. So Carpenter went and made Princess of Darkness, and he also made They Live, which is one of my favorite movies. And then, of course, Craven did Shocker, which didn't quite work. And then he made this movie, which works like gangbusters, still does.
Mm-hmm. So would you change anything about it?
I really want to see these guys in their first day at Blockbuster Video. I really want to see the people under the stairs try to acclimate themselves into society.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe seize candies.
Why?
Can you see them like trying to like give people some C's candy?
Oh man, no.
I really want to see the people under the stairs like try to become members of society again. Mm-hmm. Walden Books, they're like stacking the shelves.
Yeah, working in a warehouse.
Yeah, well, like what are some Bennigans? Maybe they're like they're just bringing the food out. They're not like the waiters. They're
They're just food runners.
They're just food runners. Yeah, we're Bennigans.
Wow. I think that place went out of business.
It did. Well, but this is 91 though, so I'm trying to think like what are some old school.
Did they go out of business because of these guys?
Bennigan's doing okay. They kept hiring all those people under the stairs. You know what? People just stopped coming. What's weird is the customers became more people under the stairs.
They were really creeped out by our food runners.
It was weird, and like the people under the stairs would sit at the tables, and they'd have a special language with the other people on the stairs. They kept asking for the food to be like really uncooked. It was weird, man. Bennigan's went way downhill after those people under the stairs kept showing up.
Oh my gosh. I mean, how many boys were
That's
down
why we
there?
went to Applebee's, man, because those people under the stairs are just killing it.
Well, were there like 10 of them, you think?
I think so, at least, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it would have been better, because we do see the main guy, which is in the credits, his name is the Stairmaster. Which I think is funny. He's just like wandering off like, okay, this is great. Yeah, I think it would have been better maybe to have the cops show up, get help like round those guys up, then explode the money. You know what I mean? Like,
do they want help though? Because I mean, especially if we're going to talk about this as like a dark fairy tale, which I think is a fine way to describe this movie.
Just let the lost boys stay lost?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe that is really the way to end it, because do we want them to get processed through the system? Maybe it is a better ending that they have to find their own way. Maybe that's a better way. Yeah, maybe there is more poetry to that.
Maybe, but I mean, you don't have...
But I mean, because let's face it, that's what we're talking about here. I mean, this isn't a movie where mother and father are arrested and the house gets back in the society. No, mother and father... they meet their ultimate doom, and all of their wealth is exploded onto the people they've been oppressing for all these years. I mean, it's a crazy ending.
Yeah. The amount of money that those people had stashed away, I mean, it's in the millions.
Easy. Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah, because even if they're not able to catch all that money that's literally raining down on them, there's got to be millions, if not billions of dollars of golden coins everywhere.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So in another like version where these people aren't insane, they take their money and they upkeep the apartments and they keep things decent and everyone's fine. But no, they had to be the worst people in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
be good to your community, people.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes, be a good landlord.
Be a good landlord.
Don't be a slumlord.
Right.
And if you have people in your life that are undesirable, don't remove their bad parts and put them under the stairs.
Yeah, exactly.
Because eventually they will rise up.
Yeah, they will.
It
does happen.
You will suffer.
Yeah.
How many stars do you give this?
I think 3.5 too.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, because I really like it. And I think ultimately...
Does Melody like this movie?
I don't know. She didn't say.
But she just like, you guys watch the people under the stairs.
I just said, you're the one who recommended this, right? And she was like, yes. I was like, okay. She didn't say if she likes it or not.
Do you think she was just seeing if we were going to do it or not?
Maybe. Was this just a challenge?
Yeah.
Like, I dare you.
Like, there's no way they're watching that movie. It's like, nah, joke's on you. I love this movie.
Yeah, no, we love it. And yeah, if you have any thoughts when we post this, write us on our Instagram. Yeah, let us know.
Please, listeners, yes, we appreciate all the feedback.
Or send, write us a review on Spotify or Apple. Let us know what you think.
Please, yes. And if you are one of the people under the stairs, let us know how you acclimated back to regular society.
Exactly. We want to know if you're in the sewer with the Ninja Turtles or, working at a restaurant.
Even with the pasty skin, the long hair, and the removal of your bad parts, were you able to get that job at Bennigan's? I want to know.
All right. On that note, I think we did it.
I think we did it, Mother.
Oh, no. All right. That concludes our discussion of Wes Craven's The People Under the Stairs.
Good night, everyone.